Dear all, we are going to start the program. I would like to ask Aishwarya to begin the event.
Being an official event, I kindly request all the audience to maintain the decorum. Please mute your mics to reduce unnecessary background noise. I also request the speakers to unmute their mics and enable the video while speaking. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to this magnificently glorious day. The honorable guests, participants from academia and industries, and my dear fellow students. The scent in the air clearly smells with enthusiasm, enterprise, curiosity, and everything precious and beautiful. It's wonderful that even during the difficult time, so many of us gathered here to be a part of the two-day seminar SRMIST BioConclave 20. I, Aishwarya, a final year student of Biotech, and Roshan, on behalf of Genetic Engineering Department, our HOD Dr. Parani, and the convener of this event, Dr. N.S. Raja, would like to present a gracious welcome to you all. Besides, I'm extremely privileged to welcome Dr. Muthamar Selvan, Pro Vice Chancellor, Engineering and Technology, our Dean, Dr. Vairamani, our HOD, Dr. Parni, our special guests, and my dear fellow students. Thank you all for joining on this auspicious day.
Let us begin the ceremony with an invocation by Aishwarya.
Gajavadana Karuna Sadana Gajavadana Karuna Sadana Shankara Bala Lambodara Sundara Gajavadana Karuna Sadana அஜனமரேந்திரரும் முனிவரும் பணியும் அஜனமரேந்திரரும் முனிவரும் பணியும் பங்கஜ சரண சரணம் சரணம் ஸ்ரீ கஜவதன கருண சதன மூவுலக காதாரம் நீயே சிவகம மந்திரசாரம் நீயே வாழ்வெளியன் ஜீவாதாரம் நீயே வாழ்வெளியன் ஜீவாதாரம் நீ அருள்வாய் சுமுக ஓம்கார கஜவதன கருண சதன சங்கர பாலம்போதர சுந்தர கஜவதன கருண சதன கருண சதன.
Thank you, Aishwarya. I would like to call Dr. N.S. Raja, the convener of the event, to deliver the welcome address. Sure, mic is on mute.
A very good evening to all, and I extend a warm welcome to our Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, speakers Dr. Veeramuthu and Dr. P.G. Venkatesh, our respected Dean, our respected HOD, fellow teachers, researchers, participants from the industry, academia, and dear students. I'm here to give to welcome speech for SRM BioConclave 20, organized on the theme Alternative Careers for Life Sciences Graduates. I might likewise want to offer my thanks to our regarded pro-vices who acknowledged our invitation to direct the seminar. Biotechnology and life sciences are no doubt booming industries. Both sectors offer excellent career opportunities in India and abroad. However, due to various factors, biotechnology and life science graduates quite often struggle to find suitable jobs, especially in India. This seminar would like to introduce the new and rapidly growing fields that could provide employment opportunities for those students who study life sciences related programs. The following are the key areas we are going to focus: artificial intelligence and data science. So data science is basically all about extraction of knowledge from information. And it is the degree of knowledge that is more important than the volume of information. The application of data science in life sciences is about far more than simply mining massive data sets. Within the broad and multidisciplinary field of biotechnology and life sciences, the role of data science has been to find meaning within the massive troves of biological data, whether for the purpose of sequencing genomes, creating new combinations of pharmaceutical compounds, performing predictive diagnosis, environmental monitoring, creating genetically modified seeds, etc. With skills and knowledge about data science and analytics, we could find employment opportunities in genomics, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, environmental science, food industry, and agriculture. Precision medicine using advanced bioinformatics is the next important topic that we are going to focus. Precision medicine is an approach to patient care that allows doctors to select treatments that are most likely to help patients based on a genetic understanding of disease. This may also be called personalized medicine. Precision medicine is changing the way we understand, diagnose, and treat the major life-threatening diseases. The transformation is driven by high throughput molecular data from patients, animal models, and large-scale experiments. These advancements will enable the greater number of precision medicine solutions to be made available to an ever-increasing number of highly targeted patient populations, resulting in transformative advancements in life sciences and a healthier global population. The third area is what we are going to focus is the intellectual property rights. To embark on a career in IPR, one should have immense interest and passion to solve the queries related to the intellectual creations of mind, and to add, one should also have a problem-solving approach, as the client is in a hunt for a proper way out. Moreover, to look upon biotechnology, patent law focuses on securing and defending the property rights granted by patents on technological developments and invented by scientists who is working in the field of biosciences. There are quite a number of opportunities in biotechnology patent law for both the patent and the lawyers. Finally, we are going to focus the bioentrepreneurship. Bioentrepreneurship is a buzzword these days. The bioentrepreneurship is an integration of two different disciplines, science and business. It is a flow of innovation from academia to industry. Bioentrepreneurship is a broad concept and trending nowadays, which has set a very high standards for research and innovation across the world. In simple terms, bioentrepreneurship is an entrepreneurial activity in biology or biotechnological domain. So we have extremely well-versed people who are having a very long and successful career to speak among us. So this is a very introduction or snapshot of what we are going to discuss in the seminar. So I would also like to share some information regarding the seminar. In general, we have a very overwhelming response for the seminar. Participants from different countries like Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Taiwan, and China have registered and attending the seminar. We also have registrations from institutes like Bates Eye Care, Central University, Delhi Technological University, TNAU, CLRI, Stella Maris, Bharatiyar, and Bharadas universities, and the list is very long. We also have invited interest from the industry, where industries like Xylogen Biotech, ITC Infotech, Regionic Super Specialty Lab, MDRC, all these institutes are participating as delegates in this particular seminar. In total, we have received 430 participant applications, out of which 350 are from other institute and 80 from the SRMIST. This event is also directly live streamed in YouTube. So the registered participant list along with the mail ID will be communicated at the end of the seminar to all the participants for your future collaborations. So with this note, I welcome everyone for the two-day program. Thank you very much for supporting us.
Thank you, sir. I would like now to call Dean Dr. Vairamani to deliver the special address to the gathering.
Sir.
Sir, your mic is muted.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Engineering Technology, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Professors Muthamil Chelvan, Professor Parani, Head of the Department of Genetic Engineering, Dr. Raja, convener of this BioConclave 2020, and the chief guests of today's BioConclave, and the faculty from the Department of Genetic Engineering, and my dear students. I'm very glad that Dr. Raja has organized this BioConclave amongst this pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. And I understand from his welcome address, the response for this attending this program is very good. More than 300 participants have registered. And the topic chosen for this BioConclave is also different in nature. Normally, when we arrange this kind of conferences or meet, 2 days workshop or meet, everything will be more technical. Whereas this particular conclave addresses mostly like a career in life sciences. As Dr. Raja pointed out, it deals with various opportunities which exist for the life science graduates or biotechnology graduates or genetic engineering graduates. And not only that, Dr. Raja could get experts from all over the country, USA, UK, France, also from India, both academic as well as industry. That is something really good because that will be will automatically make the students more happy because they can clearly hear from the expert that they have a bright future. And not only that, among this COVID-19 pandemic, now each and everybody knows about RT-PCR, antibody, antigen, all the tests, diagnostic tests, whatever you talk about, everybody is familiar. Therefore, that gives a golden opportunity to develop the youngster's career very well. I'm sure this 2 days conclave will tell you what is existing and what the world is expecting from youngsters, how you can build up your career either academically or research or entrepreneurship or in the industry, what is existing for you. Again, I congratulate Dr. Raja and his team for organizing this 2 days conclave and wish the program all the success. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your wonderful words, sir. You have always stood with us in all our endeavors and never failed to motivate us. Now, I would like to call our Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Muthamil Chelvan, to deliver the inaugural address to the gathering.
Good evening to all of you. Respected Dean, School of Bioengineering, the head of the Department of Genetic Engineering, the convener for the program, Dr. N.S. Raja, the speakers for this BioConclave 2020, Dr. Veeramuthu Balakrishnan, Dr. Anu Nadarajan, Dr. Anguraj, Dr. Kartiga Singaravelu, Dr. Venkatesh, and Dr. Giri Rajkumar. The participants who are registered for this conclave, it's quite a pleasure for me to be a part of this inaugural program. Yesterday, when I happened to discuss with Dr. Raja about the theme of this conclave, he mentioned that all along we were thinking that biotechnology or genetic, whatever it is, life sciences, is only towards research. Quite a good number of aspiring students and also the parents, if they want to admit their ward in this life sciences program, as a teacher, we used to tell them that if your son or daughter is interested in pursuing research, then this can be an option for you. But when I happen to see the list of speakers, they are from different fields. So it is not that it's only one line, you can look at the other opportunities. We are all aware that the boundaries between different programs are vanishing. It is not that you study only biotechnology or only genetic engineering. You need to have some knowledge about little bit of computer science, little bit of electronics, and those things. And if you see the mindset of the present day students, there is a complete shift. Many of them would like to be an employer rather than an employee. Though we say that research gives a complete satisfaction for an individual, because every day you are trying new things and you are your own boss, there is nobody to control you. So because of this mindset, I feel that a conclave of this type is very much required for all the students who are pursuing life science course to get exposed to the other opportunities available. Now, what I find is all these degrees are only the foundation. What you build on this foundation is much more important than what you have been studying here. Now, if you take the upcoming biotech opportunities, the major opportunities during this pandemic are in the field of point of care diagnostics. While the recently launched paper, diagnostic test Feluda, promises to be a game changer, many more opportunities bound for newer tests for other diseases like dengue, TB, and other viral diseases. There is a need for advanced, reliable, and affordable diagnostic kits and equipments for the above diseases. The other promising area is the genomics or proteomics field, where the genetic profile of the individual can be generated to understand his or her predispositions to certain ailments. This has led to the development of precision medicine, where a particular drug and its dose can be customized to a patient so that the maximum benefit can be derived. This is already happening in cancer therapy, and our faculty startup is developing products for the same. I'm extremely happy to say that not only the students who are interested in this one, we have our faculty members who are more keen into come out with such startup companies. Biologicals and therapeutics for immunological diseases are also a focus area with great potential. Use of molecular modeling, computer simulations, and a system biology approach can also lead to a faster path to developing new pharmacological therapies by shortening the drug discovery time. Having said these things, now the buzzword is, or some of the key topics that very frequently we talk about are artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science. Now, if you can align your area of interest and then learn something about artificial intelligence or machine learning, data science, how to use them in your area of work, that will be more promising than simply undergoing whatever is prescribed in a syllabus or whatever is in front of you. So with these few words, I congratulate the organizers of this BioConclave 20, and also I strongly believe that this will be an eye-opener for many of the participants who have joined this conclave. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your kind words, sir.
So with that, we will come to the end of the inaugural session, and we will be now moving into the talks as prescribed by the agenda. We will start with the talk by Dr. Veera Balakrishnan. I would like to ask Aishwarya to introduce Dr. Veeramuthu to the audience. Unmute your mic, ma.
Okay, sir. Without any delay, let us move to the first talk of the evening. I would like to introduce Dr. Veeramuthu Balakrishnan, who is the Director of Data Science Marketing Strategy and Operations in Dell Technologies, Austin, Texas, USA. He pursued his postdoctorate in Waltham Institute, USA. He did his doctorate in neuroscience Kiel University, Germany. His area of interest includes artificial intelligence, automation, neural network, business development, and customer experience. He has published papers in journals like Nature Neuroscience, Neuron, and Journal of Neurophysiology. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Veeramuthu Balakrishnan to deliver the first talk of the evening on careers in artificial intelligence for life science graduate.
Let me know if you all see my screen first.
Yes, Veera. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can see my screen, right? Okay. Okay. First of all, hi there. This is Veera Balakrishnan. Good evening, all. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me from SRM institutions, Dr. N.S. Raja, and thank you for the introduction as well. It's a pleasure to be here virtually. I hope you all will enjoy this talk and also would be useful one way or another. This talk is about career in AI, not only life science. It's for anyone interested in this field because you know better biology than me or genetic engineering than me. I'm not going to go into the biology of AI. I'm going to talk more about the AI part and some of the areas where you can use biology as a domain knowledge and get ready for your next job. So let me walk you through the agenda. So first, I will give you a brief introduction to AI, how that would impact our life or job so that you can get prepared as an aspirant for a job or looking to this area. And also about the data, which is the fuel for AI. And the next job roles associated with AI. And moving on, I will brush up some tools. Most interestingly, how you can prepare for this market, that's AI market, the available resources to you, and how big the competition is and how rewarding it is to work in this area. So let's first focus, what is AI? So when in 1950s, the fathers of the field, Mincy and McCarthy, when they introduced artificial intelligence, let me take their words and explain you what is AI. If we reproduce anything that a human do with his intelligence by a machine or a program, then it is called AI. So it's the opposite of what we have, the human intelligence to artificial intelligence. We think, we see something and we predict something. So if a machine can do that, that is artificial intelligence. So most of the AI system will typically demonstrate at least one of the following listed here. The behaviors of human, like planning, learning, reasoning, problem solving, knowledge representation, perception, motion, manipulation, and to a lesser extent about the social intelligence and creativity in some chatbots and even some tools that are available in our native languages. So let me quickly go through how AI can help in general. So if you look into the AI capabilities, what are the capabilities of AI? What AI can do? It can do machine learning. What is machine learning? So a machine can learn like a human. Hey, there is a fire, go and stop it. The human will think about like that. A machine can do that. A machine can learn. If you say, hey, the fire will look like this and it will be there, and you have to react like that, the machine will learn, and that's called a machine learning. The next aspect is the computer vision. Computer, like we have eyes, retina, our retina connected to our brain, and we use visual signals to make use of the clues and react. Like that, a machine can see through its eye. That's photodiodes, and it can absorb the light and pixels, and it can make its own decision. It can recognize who you are. Hey, this is Raja, this is someone. So it can, and it can even go and do detection with emotions and so many other things. The fourth pillar of AI we would call the natural language processing. That is, we all speak, and it's all digital signals that you can capture a machine, and the machine can understand what you are talking about, whether what your emotions are about, and what's your moods and what you are talking, you have whether a positive sentiment or whether you have a negative sentiment like that. And also the AI have the capability to forecast. Okay, what will happen in future? Okay, I have 100 students this time. Next time, how much I can expect based on so many factors, like this is a weekend, this is a festival time, and so many other factors. So one can unleash the full potential of data to solve any number of problems. In general, why you are interested is AI is used to a great extent in health challenges. And they are dramatically changing the way therapies are delivered, even therapies are configured, how things are going in pharmaceutical industry. This is a necessary evolution will enable life science organization to. Let me focus few of the use cases in pharma industry, like your mentors and speakers here some have mentioned about ensure drug safety or creating drug molecule or uncovering manufacturing. For example, ensuring drug safety. For example, you are coming up with a molecule, hey, this drug could be a very potent drug for COVID. So you can't simply go and try, or you may not have the resource to try it on even in a mice or a cell lines. So what you would do is you would take the structure of this molecule, and on the previous history of scientific literature, you would go and see whether this molecule can bind to any potential receptors that are vital for your organ, so that you can ensure this molecule is not going to have as much side effects or adverse reactions. So you ensure drug safety. For this kind of purpose, AIs are used in the pharmaceutical industry these days. The next is about new therapies and marketing faster. So this is coming under clinical trials. So clinical trials use real-world data sources and develop it for future trial designs. Example, virtual pragmatic and adaptive trials. So where this AI technology is used in the life science industry. The third thing is about uncovering manufacturing issues like any anomaly that is happening, because you're producing thousands and thousands of units of medicines or pills at a time, and you can check, you can clearly monitor the outliers. Outlier detection is a big area in AI. So these outlier mechanisms can pinpoint, hey, that may be wrong, that pill that has a lowest quantity, or that there is something going wrong. It can detect by itself. So AI will enable your machines to help take the decision, hey, something went wrong, and intimate our manufacturer responsible persons or someone like that. So this is how there are many areas that AI is used in the pharmaceutical industry these days. For example, big companies like Merck, Pfizer, and everyone have a separate R&D for AI, how we can adapt the AI methodologies into their industries. So the other common areas which you may be well aware of, I just want to highlight to give you a feel how AI is used. For example, recommendation engine. You have seen Amazon, Netflix, for example, you have some affinity to a horror movie or some romantic movies. And when you have a few clicks, you will be having recommendations on the same genre. So like that, recommendation engine is used. And the second major area that is used outside is fraud detection. For example, you are taking a credit card out of Chennai and going and using it in Bangalore or somewhere out of the country. All of a sudden, it will be blocked instantaneously. So which means there are so many algorithms running behind the scene. So when you swipe, the data is transferred to the data server, and within fraction of second, it's detecting this is not a normal pattern. This guy is using this out of station. Maybe it might have gone into someone in the wrong hands. And so the detection trigger, the AI tells, hey, it's better to go and block this card and tell the owner, contact the customer service. So the call will be declined and so on. So the AI is behind that. And you have also noticed chatbot. Chatbot is nothing but you go to a website and you are typing and all of a sudden the chat window, hey, can I help you? And you are starting to having a conversation with the machine, but still it was able to answer you or take you to where the resolution can happen. So these are the other areas that AI, and there are much more areas, but because the scope of this talk is not that, I want to empower most on the jobs and the impacts and how you can get prepared. So if you look into the job around the world, almost half of the current jobs in the world are unlikely to exist in 2050. This is a prediction by experts. So if you look into each of these areas, you can see the first one is drivers. In fact, in US, I'm seeing cars tested by Tesla and Google for driverless cars. So the testing itself has started. So at one point, these countries will move ahead and say, hey, we don't need a driver to drive your car and no more accidents. You can't speed. And so many other industries will be impacted because of these kind of changes. For example, farmers. So already we are seeing that in many areas of the agriculture sector. So some countries, what they are doing is developing a massive structures which has your nutrition and other things where you go and sow your seeds and cultivate. There is no pesticides, nothing. It's all controlled. The light is limited, the air is limited, the humidity, everything is in a controlled environment, and it's giving a highest productivity so that the entire population can be served in future, because we are multiplying at a very high rate, at least in some of the nations. And the third thing is about printers and publishers. Already you have seen we are all moving towards electronic books and things, and the cashiers are replaced by automated machines. It also uses some intelligence. And our travel agents, 10 years before, I used to go to a travel agent in Trichy and ask him to book a ticket, and I have to wait, and he gave these recommendations and so many other things. I have no choice in some aspect, but because of modern IT architecture, and even they're implementing for pricing strategies. For example, you're going and checking, hey, what is the flight ticket for Chennai to Singapore? It will be 25,000 or something, but after one day, if you go, based on the demand, they will change. So they will check your interest and things, and AI is playing behind that. And the main other sectors are like manufacturing. Definitely manufacturing, we already started implementing robotic automation enabled with AI, and dispatchers. In fact, dispatchers completely, already it started moving out of the way, at least in US. And bartending, we are training the machines so that it can humanly behave with law-abiding citizens. So these robots or this machines has to think about how in a real world situation it has to, because you are asking for a drink, it has to see, okay, this is the guy, same guy asking me the third drink, as per the law, I should not give you. So something like that. And bank tellers, how the bank tellers working, they will be replaced by machines with AI. And interesting thing is about our defense sector. Defense sector is completely moving towards robotic automation. We want to lose human lives for some political reasons, and we are completely moving towards, already robotic dogs are implemented in some country, and so on. And fast food workers, these machines, and they don't have to deal with the air and other things. The machines will be delivering. Already we have a machine in Dell which can make me a coffee. If I put what are the things I need, and if I just go and talk, it will automatically does it for me. Sometimes it even recognizes with my phone that if I'm going nearby that area, I ask, hey, do you want me to offer a coffee? Like that. And in fact, accountants will be going, already we are using AI with many tax calculating softwares like Intuit and some other companies doing that. And stock traders, we have seen stock traders are moving more toward, and in fact, some investor advisors who are investing, hey, you have to buy this stock, that stock, they themselves using AI to figure out which stock will move higher in this day, and so that the day traders can use this information. So, and in fact, construction workers already, you might have seen some awesome videos in the YouTube. People are going with 3D construction, and it also needs some AI inputs. So given this, you all may know these jobs, at least there is going to be a huge impact with AI. And if you are enabling yourself with AI, you have a golden opportunity to go and venture any of these areas in the future. Let me give you some more introduction into the healthcare market, how AI is projected. So AI healthcare market in India, I'm talking about, in India is expected to grow at a rate of 40% by 2021. So here I have listed some of the startups alone. There are top 20 startups. They have got more than 10 million in the foundation grant to kickstart their business. And in fact, some of them are really using it for real healthcare purpose. Some are supporting the healthcare industry analytics. For example, ZS, they are here for a very long time, which I am not aware until a couple of years before. They were supporting analytics for patient or health insurance like that. And in fact, all the major IT vendors like TCS, Infosys, and everyone, if you go to their website and see which industries or industry verticals they are serving, you could see healthcare or insurance industry. So everything comes under us. So we have the domain expertise, even the diagnostic. Many of the diagnostic procedures like detecting the tumor or finding what type of tumor it is, and based on the histochemical slides, you may have known, since we are all biologists, we used to go and see the slides, putting under a microscope and see whether is there any pathophysiology. So it needs human intelligence to see, hey, this is a normal one, then this is a abnormal. So those kind of decisions, even humans can do errors, but machines won't do. They have a very high accuracy and precision to detect these kind of things. So the field is evolving very drastically in different ways. So now I'm going to tell you more about how you can enter this field, what you need to learn, so how competitive it is, something like that. So as I mentioned here, there is a 40% growth that will happen within 1 year. So you can see how big the industry is going to be. So moving to the data. So why we need to speak about data now? So data is the new oil or new coal to drive our digital economies, going forward in the same way the coal and oil drove the industrial revolution in the past. Because this is the fuel. Without data, there is no AI. So let us see how much data we generate. Why I'm talking about data? Is that data not available before? Yes, it was available. But when I was a student, I didn't have a mobile phone. I didn't have many things. Internet, even for internet, I have to wait and I have to be in queue and go to a place and get a slot and pay $40. It's for 40 rupees and make use of internet. Now everything is almost free. You have unlimited talks, unlimited text, unlimited amount of data with Spectrum and so many other things. So that brings a huge explosion of data in our daily life. So per day, in a day, if you look, there are 500 million tweets. 294 billion emails are sent from your computers. 4 billion things happening in Facebook. Or you see 4 TB of data from connected car. For example, from my car, I could interact with the outside world with the internet. So that is sending the data in and out. And in total, if you look into this data, how much it is produced, it's about 463 exabytes of data generated per day. This is not petabytes, it's already exabyte per day. You can multiply by 365 and imagine how much it would go. So we have the capability now to store. The big data technology emerged, and that's a separate domain. We have parallel computing power. We have unlimited storage because We are going with horizontal scaling in the data storage. So you can subscribe to AWS and get your storage account, and which is very cheaper. In fact, they have multiple data centers across the world. And so there is unlimited things happening. The data storage and computational power, everything is going unlimited, and it's scaled as per your wish. If you need this much, okay, you have it. If you need a little bigger, instantly you can go and increase. You don't have to wait for a computer company come and set up some hard drive or something. This is parallel, and everything is moving into cloud. So you have unlimited boundary for data accumulation data. So make sure this, if you miss this opportunity to capture the data, if you miss, your competitor will make use of the data and kill your market. So companies are capturing this data at a very high rate. Their frequency is very high, and they make use of this in real time. So that's why data is important. That's why these companies are coming to you and asking, if we have control on you with your phone, we will know who you are, where you are, who you are talking to, and how much you are spending. With your credit card data, we know how much you are spending. With your other data from other sources, we know how much you are earning and which neighborhood you are staying, and how many people you have at home. So we have, these companies have almost they know everything about you, where did you come from, where you go, and so many other things, so that they use this information to their advantage. Okay, this guy is going nearby. Okay, why don't we promote this? Oh, he's going to the shop, or his online activities like this. Why don't you go on? That's why we are seeing whenever you search something in the Google, and that will be popped up in your other sessions, wherever you go, you'll be seeing, hey, you look for a pressure cooker, and this is a pressure cooker. That will come in almost for 2-3 days. So this kind of things data can make. And also the data is not only for applying on humans and marketing, it's for so many other fields like IoT, Internet of Things devices. Now, my home refrigerator, oven, everything is connected to internet. And in fact, if my fridge door is open for more than 5 minutes, I'm getting alert in my phone. Hey, your fridge door is open, go and close it. And we have Alexa, we have Ecobee, which is connected to Alexa. If I'm not here in the room, it automatically is shutting off the air conditioning. So these data are helping for humans in many ways, and we have to make use of. And in fact, your IT industry that's associated with pharmacological and health industries are capturing this data and making use. So let me walk you through the need for data scientists that is across all sectors. Not only this is limited to IT or somewhere. I just want to showcase where and all it's get used. For example, you can see it's in analytics, software, consulting, financial service, education research, advertising, construction. These are having a lion's share of data science. So because to analyze this data, okay, there are so much data available. Who is going to take care of this? Who is going to store this? Who is going to move the data from one place to another? So we need, or they need, the company themselves, they need data scientists, data analysts across all sectors to make use of this data and bring some insights. So what is important? Is there anything that we have to go and make sure, hey, there is an opportunity or something going wrong? So the data has to be consumed real time, and we have to make use of the data very quickly. For example, I work with CCO, Chief Customer Office, where we used to send surveys across 192 countries and get feedback from people. These are all data. We are getting the data and we are processing the data. As per the data, we are understanding what the pain point these customers are undergoing and changing the strategies, what we can do to help our customers to be happy. So if they become a loyal customers, they can spend more money on us, like that. So there is a need for data scientists, and I will walk you through what a data scientist will look like and what are the things you should know and how you can groom yourself to enter this market. So data science can work in pharmaceutical industry, life science industry, or clinical setting, or health insurance, or anywhere. So there is no limit. So let me go and present how a successful data scientist skill sets look like. So a successful data scientist is nothing but the combinations in this Venn diagram. He should have some understanding and a good programming language, hands-on experience with one or two programming. I will talk about which are very popular in the market. And they should have a good understanding of machine learning algorithm. There are so many algorithms because today the world is open. You can learn anything and you can contribute to the world anything in a very open way. So what people does is, for example, if they write a package for solving one problem, they are putting it in the internet, and this is taken by some other guy, and then he builds something on top of that and make it even more better, and or make it even better to get used in a different industry like that. So machine learning algorithm, every month or every week, you would see some new algorithms coming from these contributors. So you should be well aware of this algorithm. There are a set of general algorithm, and you should be constantly learning from outside world as well to keep you updated. And you should have some basic understanding of math, statistics that you may have in your syllabus. And you have domain and business knowledge. For example, if you are in genetic engineering, you know the genome analysis, how big the genome and how the genome analysis is getting used in cancer diagnostics and so many other diagnostic things, or even predicting whether this guy will likely get these kind of diseases or not. There are so many companies which doing, if you give a blood sample, they will tell the probability of you getting these diseases, these kind of diseases, and what probability you are, and what are the risk factors associated. That's how Angelina Jolie and so many Hollywood stars, like in a decade before they got diagnosed for so many things, they're more prone to this disease, and they themselves take some preventive measures on that. So you should also have some basic understanding of software development. You don't have to develop software, but you should have an understanding, because whatever product you are developing, healthcare product or pharma product, you should have a knowledge to communicate it to the production engineer so that he will implement it in production scale. So there are so many dimensions. I listed 3 here: computational, mathematical, and domain knowledge. If you mix everything, you can wear a hat of data scientist. So let me on to the reasons to become a data scientist. Why I'm emphasizing why you should be a data scientist. So if you look, this is a very high. There is a very high demand in the field. It is predicted that 11 million jobs by 2026. So there is no problem. There are jobs, but it's up to you to groom to get a job. For example, believe me, recently I interviewed, I got around 1,700 applications within 3 years for a position, but I could, within few days, I have to make a decision, but I couldn't get an Indian. I took a Nepali. So he's from Nepal, he's working in Gujarat, and his skill sets were better. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you are from, what degree you have, your skills are most important to us. So this is a very high demand field, and the projections are very high. So please take a note of that. And in fact, these positions are highly paid. There are so many junior positions. I'm talking about the ranges 12 lakhs to 30 lakhs per annum you can get. So the third thing is about evolving workplace environments. So with data science, so many things are getting automated, and repetitive tasks are taken by machines, and humans are simply used for critical thinking. So if you enjoy thinking and generating insights, this is for you. So if you want to solve some problem in genomics or healthcare or clinical, you can make use of that. So you don't have to manually do many tasks. And the fourth thing I want to emphasize here is improving product standards, customized offering, enhance CX, like what I did in my previous role. So by listening to different mechanisms, we can go and improve the product. So data scientists help in that area as well. So finally, helping the world. So as you know, machine learning revolutionized the healthcare industry. And they have, for example, early detection of tumors, organ anomalies, etc. So these are some of the key reasons I just want to put in front of you why you want to be a data scientist. And if you look into the degree, okay, what kind of degree I should have to be a data scientist or to be in this field? Because this field is relatively new. So the jobs are there. So we won't expect that you having 10 years or 20 years experience to take this job. In average, I'm seeing 2 to 3 years of experience is more than enough. But I will tell you how you can get that experience. In general, people look for 5-year experience, but without job, you can't get experience, that we know. But there are other ways to get this experience when you're out of this field. And here listed are the hottest roles that are associated with AI. So machine learning engineer who develop algorithms, write algorithms for a set of problems, or application development analysis, or some backend developer or a full stack engineer. These are hardcore IT roles that we can eliminate, but customer success manager, digital marketing specialist, big data developer, sales recruiter, Python developer. These are some of the hottest roles that are available in the market. And if you look into the degree of these people who are employed as machine learning engineers or data scientists, you could see in India, the majority of them are having bachelor's degree and 37% for master's and even MBA. I know many MBA people who took economics and some other related topics have moved into this field, became a data scientist. And anyone can become a data scientist, but only you should be sharp in your skills, what we are expecting. So I will move on to the languages first. So these are the tools. So what our surveys are telling, what tools have been used across the industry. So you should be very strong in at least one language. I would go with Python. It's very easy to learn, in fact. There are several advantages like DL packages when you go with Python because it's backed by Google. There is no proprietary, it's free. Anyone can use it. No one can tell, hey, this is my package, you can use it. They can't restrict you. So in fact, there are a lot of opportunities and resources available for you to learn this language. In fact, Google itself is having a class that I'm giving here as a link that you can go and learn. They have a 3-day course. But to be more proficient in a language will take time. Even if you can start writing a program in a couple of days, but in real world, it's not that easy when you're solving. So you should be having more hands-on skills to improve yourself and learn more about Python. So if you look other major programs or tools, R stands next, and SQL. SQL is the database. For example, when you have the data, these data are stored in a structural way. When I say structural way, it has a column, it has a row, and each column has its name. For example, if you are going to create a demographic data, the column name will be name, age, sex, where, the place, and everything. These are the columns. So it will be in a very structured format, and these are kept in a relational database. There won't be one single file. There will be multiple files. So you can connect one file to the other. So to do these things, the standard set of language they use is SQL, which is a very simple language, but the most powerful. So used in the database industry. So if you have Python and SQL, you can simply stay for the rest of the life. So apart from that, they mentioned some notebooks and TensorFlow. It's about a deep learning platform and AWS. As you know, Amazon Web Service. You can there are free videos from AWS. In fact, you can go and explore. And some basic language like C++, and in fact, for AI industry, Java is coded lower because of the way the language is. We have this is type safe, and you have to write 40 lines of code in Java when compared to 4 lines of code in Python in a very different manner. And also, I mentioned that you should have some understanding of big data, but there are many programs for data science. I will tell you what are the resources you should go and look for, where you can learn from, and you can kickstart from that. Just have a feel whether this field suits you for your personality or anything. Let me walk you through some free resources for data science where you can, hey, I don't have money, that's fine. I want to learn data science. I want to feel what data science look like. So the first place I would recommend you to is learn the Python itself or learn a language and then go to Kaggle. Kaggle is a platform where they conduct competitions for data science people. And in fact, they will they have some information how you can solve some problems with machine learning. They have a micro courses. It's not in a very detailed way. There is no math explained behind that, but you can see how they solve the problem with the existing algorithm. For example, Titanic problem is a very common one. For example, they took the Titanic data set and predict if this ship is sinking, who are the most likely person to die first, who will survive. So we can predict based on and which tier they are sitting, which class of tickets, and whether they're high class, low class, whether they're female, male, and whether they are child. It takes all the features. So it will give you a very good, solid understanding about what is data science, how predictions are applied in data science, and what are the other things you can do with data science. You will find a lot of scenarios. In fact, Netflix, this recommendation engine, that what it's used in the real world, those guys came with a $1 million reward to solve their recommendation engine problem. And a team was selected, and they solved the problem and they won 1 million. So it's rewarding. So you can, in fact, go and earn money. You can form a team in your university and learn, and then you go and try some competitions. And in fact, this will help you in the learning process for how you can use data science in real time. The second resource is about Analytics Vidya. This is a great blog. Many people go and read, and it's not governed or mentored by academicians or anyone. Anyone can write in this blog with their thing, and these aspirants, they will go and see, is there any new packages available? And okay, let me try it on some old problems and showcase, hey, this is how I solved this problem. And they will write about, and in fact, you can get a lot of resource from them, and they periodically send newsletters and new articles they are publishing. So I would recommend Analytics Vidya as a second source. And Chris Albon's website, so you can find a lot. This is a little mature. You can find all the cheat sheets. To refer, you can't go and refer books and everything. So as a beginner, you use cheat sheets. So you can use that. And the fourth thing is fast AI. So AI have evolved as machine learning, and now we are much more into deep learning. We are using deep neural networks, how brain functions. For example, we know the sound is coming from here. We see things which is moving, and these are signals. And these signals are perceived by humans in such a way and bring human intelligence. Like that, we are trying to adapt such models into computer algorithm, which forms the basis for deep learning methods. And these deep learning methods are very powerful in accuracy. For example, if you can predict something with machine learning algorithms at 80% or 90%, the deep learning approach can take you even 99%, 100% almost, which has even potential benefit in adapting to industries like healthcare, where we can't accept any errors at all. So that was the fourth one. And FastAI is a good resource for you to learn some free deep learning courses. So you have to start from the language and have some understanding about packages and then go deeper. And in fact, most of you might have known about Coursera, where you can go and audit any courses from top universities for free. If you're auditing the course, they won't charge you. Only when you need a certificate, they may charge you. So these are the main free resources that I want to highlight. So let's move on to how you can showcase yourself, because you have to prove yourself to an employer. Because, for example, you can't come and say, hi, I know data analysis, I can do. So they have to believe you. So there are multiple ways you can make them comfortable. Hey, I know something about data analysis or data science. So what people do is they will go and earn certifications. So there are so many, especially in IT industry. If you're new to that field, you're called. In fact, the resumes are scored by, they will go and search for the certification. Okay, if there is 200 application. Okay, let us take the certificate, guys. Okay, and move on. Like that they do. So it's better to have some certifications to showcase yourself, that you are aware and you are familiar. These certifications may charge you, but there is some syllabus or areas that you have to cover to clear the certification, and there will be some proctored exam, and that will really give you a feel how things goes. So I have listed few here. Dell itself have a certification with EMC, Dell Associate Certificate. I would recommend SAS. SAS is a very popular one in the world, and but due to their commercial thing, that they are lagging a little bit. But showcasing this kind of certifications will help you to enter this area to make your employers comfortable. So okay, you got certification. Still, what else you need? How you can prove your employer to get hired? So when it comes to experience, nearly 57% of Indian companies recruiting for AI jobs look for 5 years experience, as I mentioned before. But the average AI experience of Indian professionals is around 3 years. But you can make up this. For example, you can part-time contribute to Kaggle. You can call your Kaggle experience. Hey, last 2 years I am participating in Kaggle. You can go and see my Kaggle results and other things. Or you contribute something to the GitHub repository and you call it as an academic project, or do some projects in your master's or end of the master's program. Go somewhere who are doing using AI for their applications. So participate in Kaggle competitions, hackathon events in your cities, form a team to be more competitive, because you may learn, but you go, for example, I'm very strong in math and ML, but I need a fast writing engineer. So I bring another guy into my team and I will go for a competition. So if I may have some domain knowledge and he may bring some other knowledge. So it's better to be a team and then go to this Kaggle competition and participate. So through the process of doing a lot of Kaggle competitions, one can master many techniques. They will know what is the real world problem looks like. You will be provided with data and you have to go and solve. They will say, hey, these are 1,000 images from some breast cancer photography. You have to, these images will be given. You have to write an algorithm so that this algorithm can go and pick, hey, this girl have breast cancer. Like that. So you will see a lot of real world problems in this platform, and that will improve your experience and exposure. So when you participate like that, you will be scored based on your performance, how likely and how much accuracy you are getting to solve this problem. And if you are having a very high score of accuracy, you'll be ranked based on that. Hey, this team is coming under the top 1% of the accuracy. So that will be highlighted. And you will also have an overall rank, how many times you participated in different things. And you can showcase these informations in your resume so that employer will be comfortable in having you. So how to showcase? So where and all you have to showcase your profile. This is first thing if you want to do if you want to enter IT market, have a good LinkedIn profile, have a good connection. First 500 connection doesn't matter. Go on, connect with anyone in the world and try to be part of that AA system. So what you will have is you will periodically have more information or posts from like-minded people who share valuable information. And GitHub, right? If you're repeating some problems that is already been solved, but this is your version of solving, write a code and push it to the GitHub. GitHub is again open source thing like your Facebook. You're putting your code in the GitHub. That's it, not your personal information or anything. And the other thing, in fact, go and open a Stack Overflow account where you will go and answer some question. Even you are new, but you may have 1 month or 2 months of experience when someone new to the field will be asking some questions, so you answer that. So these ways you are trying to build your resume or your candidate nature. So the fourth place is the resume. Have a well-groomed resume. Don't be lousy and don't do mistakes and anything. And in fact, I would recommend you to go and write a blog about your experience. I started machine learning and I tried to solve this problem with data analysis, and this is how. So periodically publish that. You may have some interesting followers. You may have some interesting things in future. And in fact, that when we hire people, we look for these things, whether this guy have a profile and how good he is, whether he's looking professional. And even I've seen in many of the LinkedIn profiles, people are not professional. They treat LinkedIn as Facebook. Please don't do that. It will be a killer. At one point, I even declined a guy because I don't see, he is not even able to present himself professional in a LinkedIn, how he would present himself in front of business. So that kind of thought will become, so be professional and do those things. In fact, I would like to recommend, so if you are not a self-learner, I'm a self-learner, I learn many things by myself, but I know many of you are not self-learners, but India is a paradise. In fact, Hyderabad, Bangalore, I don't know about Chennai, I don't have much exposure, but I know there are Ranganathan Street-like thing in Hyderabad and Bangalore, where there are places where you can go and get trained for whatever technology you want for a very small price. For example, for 4,000 rupees per month, you can go and learn some fantastic thing. If I want to learn something, I can call a guy and see whether he's knowledgeable to teach me. Yeah, that's the risk you have. Many people presume that they know, but you have to make sure they literally know or not, and you have to find yourself and have some connections in this area and go and learn things, what is necessary for the field if you're not comfortable as a self-learning person. So given that, I'd like to highlight some of the future technologies and applications that's going to happen, especially I'm expecting more on the AI-enabled robots, seamless IoT in home and business strategies, space. In fact, people are working on that, self-driving cars, new sources of energy, drone ecosystem, virtual reality, and medical advancement with AI. In fact, people are using even for C-section and other things, that they have started using Da Vinci robots that are now available in the market. So the future is going to transform a lot. Like I don't know how many of you have lived in the age without internet. Even when I was a boy, I could see only one type of electric bulb, and I know how the world will look like. And the transportation, everything is changing. That would be the same that you will be going to see in future in another 10 years or 20 years from now. So well prepared for that. In fact, Indian government is taking huge initiatives to boost the field. In fact, summit is happening, and if you want, you can join. Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated that yesterday, and some sessions are going. You can hear about what are the things available to Indian folks and Indian market, and how the government is going to take some initiatives so that you can make use of that for your case. So with that, finally, I would like to thank you very much for listening. I hope this information will be useful in one way or other. Again, Dr. Raja and SRM Institution, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. With that, I'm ending my talk and would like to take any questions. Thank you very much. You can do anything you want. There is no limits. That's my mantra. I want to.
That's a wonderful talk, Veera. You can stop sharing your screen so that.
Yeah, sure.
So the floor is open for questions from the audience. Already I have one, Mr. Sandeep. I'd like to call Mr. Sandeep. Somebody can unmute Sandeep? Unmuted. Sandeep, you can post your question, Sandeep. Yeah.
Yes, sir. First and foremost, thank you so much. It was a wonderful talk, and I actually learned a lot from this talk. And I'm especially inclined towards this talk because I'm an aspirant for this neuroconnectome and basically Neuralink and all the artificial intelligence and how we're proceeding with society. So my question is actually a two-part question, if you don't mind. The first question being, if we integrate quantum and high-performance computing, is it possible to generate a high-throughput artificial narrow intelligent assay to perform iterative testing to maybe expedite the current drug mechanism studies that we have? And if so, if we haven't applied it already. And the second question is, how do we aim to kind of generate a global map or a connectome of a particular organism, any model organism, for example, C. elegans, given that the brain networks are continuously changing over development? So those are the two questions that I have.
Yeah. I can directly won't answer that, but I will try to answer you in such a way you will get convinced. So in fact, I myself have used parallel computing in Humana when I was working with Humana. So it's a big data cluster. We have hundreds of nodes. Nodes, it means small computer connected to each other. And you can run any number of unlimited computation because it's an iterative process, because some algorithms are iterative. In fact, if you go and look into some machine learning algorithm, it has a limitation. You use PCA to bring your features down. But when we are using Spark technologies like PySpark or Scala Spark, so we took all the 1,200 features. And in fact, you can do that. You can add any number of features you want, and you can do iteratively. And this is a horizontal scaling. There is no limit. I can tell you one good example why I was inspired in the field is New York Times. It took 40 years of their JPEG files, 40 years of their JPEG files. And they sent it overnight to Amazon in hard drives. And they didn't own any computer. They didn't own any engineers. They sent it. And Amazon clusters are huge. They have thousands of nodes, and which has the block size of 128 MB. In your computers, the block size is 4 KB. And this is 128 MB. And they chunked this, and within one day, they converted all the JPEG files into PDF for less than $2,000. If you imagine to do the same work outside without building your own computational thing, it's not possible 20 years before, but now it is possible. Computation has no limit. The other thing you asked about the connectome, in fact, you are talking about C. elegans, like Allen's Institute in Seattle. Allen is a co-founder for Microsoft. He became more interested in understanding how brain has more than 10 to the power 12 billion neurons. And they want to understand how these are connected, how these things are. So first thing what they are doing is they're going with histochemistry and sectioning this brain into tiny slices, and then see for each protein how they are expressed throughout the brain, and they are connecting. So already it's possible. So my answer to your question is everything is possible. Why? Because there is unlimited storage and scaling and computational capacity. And some algorithms you may see, hey, they have limited. It's purely based on the algorithm's nature that's written by us. You can modify it. For example, one time when we want to use more than 1,200 or 3,000 features, we do it in a batch processing way. So it is possible, and there is endless amount of resource benefits available now. Does that answer your question, Sandeep?
I see. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it does.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the floor is open. Is anyone is interested to ask questions? They may forward their questions.
Yeah, you can ask anything that you have in your mind. So don't feel free. So okay, yeah, if that is the case, we can close.
Okay.
If you have,
okay. Anyhow, thank you very much, Dr. Veeramuthu, for giving this talk to the institute. I think the students have benefited, and I think most of us have enjoyed this talk. And probably Aishwarya can take over.
Thank you, sir. It was indeed a very informative session for us.
Okay.
sure, thank you.
So we bring come to the end of the talk one. The next talk is going to be the interactive session between Dr. Anu Natarajan and Dr. Angraj Sadanandam. Even if I request Dr. Veera, if he is available, can share the podium with them. They are going to talk about the how entrepreneurship skills and what are the problems that are faced by the entrepreneurs. I request if Veera is available, you can also join this one. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Once again, I'll ask Aishwarya to introduce Dr. Angraj and Dr. Anu Natarajan. Aishwarya? Aishwarya?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You can go ahead with this.
Yes, sir.
You can start introducing the speakers.
I would like to introduce Dr. Anu Natarajan, Senior Associate Director, Biotech Biomedical Accelerator, Harvard University, USA. She's the Senior Associate Director at Harvard University's accelerator that guides Harvard scientists towards translational impact by providing strategic monitoring and advisory support for well-defined research projects. Her role involves evaluating and managing the ongoing and future-funded programs across therapeutic areas to accelerate their path to commercially attractive inflection points. Prior to joining Harvard, Anu was the Director of Business Development at EpiDestiny, a company that focused on clinical programs in rare diseases in hematology oncology. As a senior manager, company creation at Innovate Calgary, and as an independent consultant, she has led business strategy development for several early stage companies across Canada, US, and UK. Anu holds a PhD from the University of Vienna, Austria, MBA in Management of Technology from Simon Fraser University, Canada, and Masters in Life Science from Bharathidasan University, India.
Thanks, Aishwarya.
Along with her, I would like to introduce Dr. S. Anguraj Sadanandam, Team Leader, System and Precision Cancer Medicine Team, Institute of Cancer Research, London, UK, who is currently applying his multidisciplinary skills to integrated science of system biology to identify and test precise therapies for different subtypes of cancers using computational, that is artificial intelligence, experimental, including preclinical and in vivo models, and clinical accessing clinical trial sample biology. He has published his papers in all the reputed journals that every biologist dreams for, like Science, Nature Medicine, PNAS, and Cell. Sir, I request you to join the discussion on science to business at the crossroads. Dr. N.S. Raja, Associate Professor, Department of Genetic Engineer, will be moderating the event.
Okay. Welcome all. I would like to give some introductory remarks. So this session is open, and at any time, if a participant is interested in raising a question, she can raise the hand in the chat box. She'll be allowed to ask questions to the two speakers. So they'll be discussing their careers and how they are trying to help convert the science into business. With that remark, I would like to ask Dr. Angaraj and Dr. Anu to start the discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Raja. Anu, you want to start?
Yes, thanks to SRM, thanks Aishwarya and Raja for the introduction. It's great presenting this on an early morning. I'm still in the early morning, so Angaraj, probably we could give an introduction about what kind of science we have been doing on a daily basis, and then probably we could discuss about the career path, where we started and why we started and how we have reached here. Probably, like if anyone is interested, please, as Dr. Raja mentioned, please feel free to raise your questions during the session. We want this to be more interactive than one-on-one questioning and answering session. So please feel free to chime in anytime. You can start with your introduction, Angaraj.
Sure. Thanks, Anu. And again, thanks to Dr. Raja and SRM for giving us this wonderful opportunity. When Dr. Raja asked us, Anu and I, we thought like this would be a great opportunity for us to do this interactive session. So just to introduce myself, I think Aishwarya has given enough introduction. Just to add on to that, I've been working in multidisciplinary aspects, specifically AI or machine learning, which Dr. Veeramuthu was providing a few minutes back. As well as a biologist to start with, I've been involved in mouse modeling and also the clinical trials. I'm not, as a non-clinician, I'm not doing clinical trials myself, but I'm involved with other clinicians internationally, trying to see how to deliver or translate research. So that is what is the main interest and motivation for today's session, because it's quite important that what we contribute to the society, especially for me, and for others as well. So with that aspect, academia can only deliver to a certain extent, whereas beyond academia, the industry could deliver much more. So I'm not an entrepreneur yet, but I'm just trying to be an aspiring entrepreneur, but have some ideas. So I just thought I could probably discuss with Anu.
Yeah. So my background is basically like I did my PhD in genetics oncology and postdoc, a really brief stint of postdoc in stem cell and regeneration. What made me move from science was like, even though in my early career, like after my master's, I actually wanted to do an MBA and get into the business side of the science. But then I realized having a deep knowledge in science would be helpful. As I went through my journey in PhD and during my postdoc, I recognized more and more that there's a gap in the academia that needs translation of science. The science we have been doing in academia is excellent and wonderful, but only, I would say like only a certain percentage, very small, meager percentage of that translates into a product and reaches the market. Again, drug industry or pharma, biotech, whatever you want to call, it has a long history for developing a drug pipeline, and the success rates are really minimal. But again, like if you could increase the number of translating projects from academia to biotech or a pharma company, probably the success rate is going to be higher. So that's when I decided to do an MBA, and my MBA is specialized on technology commercialization, and I focus specifically on strategy, business strategy. So that kind of helped me shape my career, like helping out early stage entrepreneurs and early stage companies, as well as tech transfer offices across US and Canada, to help them come up with or select projects that has a high potential for a drug or a product, and help them come up with a business plan. So Angaraj, like actually I have to say how we met or how our journey together started. Angaraj has been doing a wonderful research over the past 10 years, and he has amazing ideas. So in our initial days, we started like, it started like an early stage discussion, like a normal discussion over a tea or a coffee that you would have it with your friends on a daily basis in the university. Like we always found both of us have a passion for entrepreneurship. I think Angraj, probably you could add on like your background on that, like your family background on that. We always wanted to try out this entrepreneurship path and go against the grain. Like research is wonderful, like whatever science, like even today, like one of the Nobel Prizes that was given to physics today is a black hole, right? So the thing is, entrepreneurship is like a black hole. No one knows where to start, how to start, and where to go. So entrepreneur is within you, actually. It's a path that you have to develop on your own if you're interested. Again, it doesn't need a special degree, or it doesn't need, like, having the background and the focus is what it actually requires. And we would, as we go through this discussion, we could come up with more points on that. Probably Angraj, go ahead and say, please let us know how and when and why you thought of entrepreneurship. And it would be helpful for us to understand your part, because you have been very successful in the biology or in the academic research. Why did you thought that entrepreneurship is much more critical than academic research, or is it a complementary path that you wanted to take?
Sure. Absolutely. Well said, Anu. Passion is the first thing to start with. Obviously, you are, asking me to rewind back several years, obviously, when we were undergrad or postgrad. At that point, there was always I was passionate about application science, what that would go to the society. Obviously, at that time, I was not clear about what should be done, but I still think that I found something which is very interesting, which is bioinformatics. I was very passionate about it. And obviously with the computer programming and others and other things, I just wanted to take that further on. But obviously I would say it was like 20 years back. It was obviously less support from the family and from the educational institution perspective, that it is very difficult to take that bold move. But that never died within me, because obviously I still have friends like you and others who are all passionate about this entrepreneurship. So being always discussing about it. It has been a long journey, but as I mentioned, it has not died. And each time that I take upon any academic research, I made sure that it should be more translational. And luckily, I've been still pursuing in the same area. For example, when I started my career in cancer and genomics world, I just wanted to see how that could be useful as a diagnostic tool for the patients. And it has been a 12 years journey, but I'm very, very happy that thanks to my team as well, that we have developed certain diagnostic tools. Still, it's not into the clinic, but it's just in the testing phase. But that's what I was just envisioning. But obviously, going back to the question of yours, when is a very, very difficult question, because it has to happen within as individual person. And I'm very, very happy that these days, with especially in India, there is a lot of entrepreneurship blooming, that people are getting a lot of motivations out of it. So when is like again the passion that lies within people. Why again is a hard question, because it is need to be something that a goal that a particular person would need to have.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that part. The only difference between a PhD and a business strategist or an entrepreneur is a PhD or a research person. The major question they raise is why, and the entrepreneur's question is why not? Just go against the grain and ask them like, why not? Should we push this? So I agree with you on that.
Okay,
Definitely an
Vijay
interesting.
Shanti, there is one audience.
Okay.
Vijay Shanti has raised her hand. I would like to ask Vijay Shanti to pose her question to the audience. Ms. Vijay Shanti?
Vijay Shanti.
Vijay Shanti? Okay, you can continue with the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's good, but again, as an academician, the question that I have back to you, Anu, is that what really entrepreneurship means? Is there any specific rules and regulation to become an entrepreneur? And what are the steps? What one should take For example, Dr. Veeramuthu was providing that if you wanted to be a data scientist, there are certain things that you need to know. Is that something that is a set rules for people to become an entrepreneur?
There is no set rules for entrepreneurship. I had to say, like, thanks to the previous presenter, Dr. Veeramuthu, and it was a great segue from AI into entrepreneurship. So if you have an idea, all you have to do is pressure test the idea with the market. And one of the most important criteria, or one of the most important characters I've seen across entrepreneurs, is their curiosity and visionary. If you are a visionary person, you have to have this big vision. The most important thing, like most successful biotech or the most successful pharma companies that I've always seen, is like one with a tunnel vision always have a failure. The one with a broader vision has made a success, huge success. And if you look at the current IPO market, most of the startups that have, like, the IPO market is, I have to say, like, this is like really hot right now for most of the biotech and pharma. It has exploded this year. And if you look in, most of these people are visionaries, and most of them have started their career as an entrepreneur immediately after their PhD, or some even after an undergrad or a master's degree. So it is within you, actually. And the second character, I would say, or the trait that I've seen in most of the entrepreneurs that I have interacted with, is most of them are risk takers. It's not a 9-to-5 job. No one is going to go and pay you in the initial days. So the risk averse is something that you have to see. But again, like, if you look into most of the early stage entrepreneurs, be it Zuckerberg or be it like Steve from Apple, most of these people, like, they are risk takers, and their initial idea is definitely going to fail. You have to pressure test the idea and come up with a better defined product or an innovation. So I would say, like, it's more than a degree. It's just the trait in you that defines an entrepreneurship.
Sandeep has, it seems Sandeep has another question. So Sandeep,
Yes,
yeah,
I
you
do.
can post your questions.
Sorry if it's a bother, but I have a question.
No,
Since we're on the,
No worries.
since we're on the same line of thought of entrepreneurship, I wanted to actually correlate that back to how the economy is working now, especially after the impact of the pandemic. And I wanted to get your 2 cents on how you think it's going to affect pressure testing ideas or incubating your company, as you were saying. I wanted to know how that would affect and what we could do practically, what steps we could take to start a company in this environment.
So
okay.
I mean,
Do you want to take it out?
yeah, sure. This is a very, very good question. And I think this is, I mean, in every worst or bad situation, you can always find an opportunity. I think the pandemic is one such thing. And I believe this again tells us that, you know, this is the era for biologists and medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there's a lot more to do with for the COVID or any pandemic that's going to come. So, I mean, Anu and myself, we were discussing earlier that, you know, people were taking opportunities in the sense in a nice way with respect to the COVID. For example, even companies which were selling small to medium level reagents, they were having a very good business at this point because they need to come out and lend their support for the COVID. And you can imagine the diagnostic companies which were already pushing in that area, as well as the new companies that were about to come. I think there's a lot more successful stories. So I think this is an opportunity. That's what I would consider this pandemic situation.
So my 2 cents on that would be, like, the market has redefined itself during this pandemic. You see all this, even school kids coming up with innovative ideas, simple innovative ideas that have changed the market and the trend, how the pressure testing is being done. Take the clinical trials, for example. Like generally a vaccine clinical trial would take at least 3 to 4 years to test the safety and efficacy. But now we could rapidly, like NIH or be it any other organization around the world, they have come up with the shortened clinical trials because the pressure is humongous on the drug development process as well as for the diagnostic tools. Like the first kit that came into market after the COVID, like in March when the system exploded with number of COVID cases, the first test that came into March was like, it took them 45 days to develop a product. I would say that this scenario has completely redefined how the drug development or a diagnostic tool product has to be. And an interesting thing I would say, like investors are also opening up. like a year back, people were worried about antibacterials or antibiotic resistance. Right now, this is kind of changing the market, and like only a couple of not-for-profit organizations have been working in antibiotic resistance area, or like markets that are not of interest to the developed nations. But right now, the investment, if you look into the investment that's going in each of these companies, you could see clearly this is all going to change the market. And with the coming years, even the clinical trials and the way like the hospital system works, like even smaller like innovation, simple innovations, like you don't have to talk about a complication innovation where you have to have a patent to develop it. People are coming up with ideas. For example, just as an example, I would say Sandeep, like people don't want, the hospital doesn't want the people to come into the hospital for checks, COVID checks or coronavirus testing. So they have started the simple system where they have this drive-through test. All you do is you go in your car, like you sit in a parking lot, a person will come and take it. This is a simple idea. I'm just saying like social innovation and generally the scientific innovation has joined hands right now, thanks to the pandemic, and the bigger vision or a larger vision is taking into place. It's coming into, it's redefining the entire scenario, what we are going through right now. Does that answer your question, Sandeep? Oh, sorry.
It does, absolutely. Thank you so much. I go as far as to say that I think, dare I say, things are getting easier for the entrepreneurship of people who are kind of...
Yeah, tomorrow we are going to have one more talk on the by the management professor here. Probably he'll be giving you more insight regarding the global economy and markets and how they change during this pandemic.
That's wonderful, sir. I can't wait. Thank you so much.
So as a segue to that conversation, I have to add this because Angaraj and I were talking about, people never thought about, like tomorrow you are going to hear it from one of my colleagues, ex-colleagues, I would say, like as Dr. Raja alluded to, he's going to talk about management and economics. People never thought about supply chain in biotech. But now with the current scenario, everything is being redefined. Manufacturing and supply chain and logistics seems to be a huge issue because we haven't done a lot of innovation in this area. Most of the innovation that has been happening or in the early stages of drug development. Towards the final pipeline, the formulation or supply chain or logistic needs a lot of innovation. Yeah.
I completely agree with you on that. This, I mean, even social economic aspects are also changing, and you're right that redefining the market is quite important. Just kind of going back to what you said earlier, what and how would make anybody entrepreneur. In that perspective, how big is an idea? How do anyone even the first question is that did you envision to become an entrepreneur? Can you a little bit share your thoughts about the idea generation or ideation as well as your journey towards this?
Sorry?
Some background noise, you can continue. There was some background noise, so I can just continue with that. Not from you, it's from somebody else.
No, I was muted. I was muted, sir. Sorry. Angraj, are you there?
I think Angraj, you are on mute.
Angraj?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So my question is, can you share, your journey towards the entrepreneurship, and can you tell more about ideation and how big an idea should be, or how small it should be before starting in, a company or a startup?
There's no such thing as a small or a big idea. It's whether the idea could develop into a product, that what matters in entrepreneurship. So like my journey, I would say, like as I jokingly mentioned earlier, most of the innovative talks or most of the ideas that we juggled around with friends during our PhD or during our masters, some of them has redefined, I've seen them reach the market. For example, one such scenario I could point to, like we were just making this jokingly, like this was in the early 2000s, I would say. We were just joking about it, like saying like we have to come up with a DNA ring or something, like, like just pellet the DNA, have it in a ring. It's like a naive idea. But then 2 years down the line, we have seen companies making such products. You know, this is something like you have to really understand what the market needs. And one of these companies, I don't want to mention the name here, they've been very successful. And of course, they have gone out of the market over time. But then there's no such idea as a naive idea. It's just how you develop your product and how you market it to the customers. First question I would ask is, do you have customers or the end users? Are your product answering all the questions or needs of your end users? That is the most critical part. And then as my part like goes to, like, I wanted to touch on lives of several patients. Like my initial idea was to become an entrepreneur. But then I realized entrepreneur is also like a 24/7 job. And it needs more time commitment, more of your personal time commitment too. So the reason I didn't move away from entrepreneurship, I still work with entrepreneurs, and I wanted to touch on lives of several patients. So I took a different path. Right now, I'm focusing on business strategy for several startups that are working in rare diseases or, let's say, cell and gene therapy areas. But then again, at one day, like I want to revisit the path of entrepreneurship myself. But right now, I'm working as a business strategist.
I mean, I agree that, there are quite few things over the time we can see that, oh, I just thought about it, but I didn't pursue, but it become a product, successful product, however it is. And one thing I can remember is about this precision medicine or personalized medicine, which I got introduced in 2007 or earlier. At that point, most of the people didn't even know what personalized medicine means. Now I can see personalized medicine is obviously there is a lot more for personalized medicine to get into the clinic, but I can really witness that there are companies which are making really good progress along those lines for the benefit of the patients. And along those lines, I agree that no idea is small, no idea is big. It all depends on the market. And from my experience, again, to say, if you don't know the market, then obviously it's not a great idea. And if there is no market, then obviously I learned through a hard, way that, if there is no market, then obviously it's better to drop early on rather than being late. So that would be the first lesson to learn, I guess.
Yeah. So could you expand on that market? Like, for example, you mentioned understanding the market is definitely a big thing in entrepreneurship, because you really, like, there's always the first mover advantage. Whoever gets into the market first with the product, they're going to capture the market. But then defining the market, like what would be your 2 cents on market assessment, or like, how did you got to know about your market for a specific product or innovation that you were thinking?
Sure. I mean, when it comes to the market, too early taking a product which probably needs another 10 years is also as bad as, trying to sell something which nobody wants to buy. From that perspective, there were certain things. For example, I always underestimated, I would say, AI. That's how I would put it. Though, as was mentioning to you some time back, AI is not a new word. It's just existing for decades, but obviously it's making a big change because of the evolution of data science, which Dr. Veeramuthu was covering very well. So I definitely underestimated AI. So we didn't try to bring products that we developed within our lab to come to the market. We just, as an academician, were using them as open source and left it out. So that's number one. With respect to the diagnostic products, obviously, 10 years back, it was very difficult to envision how this would look like from the personalized medicine point of view, because there were only a handful of drugs that were at that time used as more personalized perspective. For example, Herceptin is the best example, or imatinib. So from that perspective, we just wanted to make sure that, how we can further progress to, make more such personalized medicine. And over the time, by assessing the market, we could really come to a couple of aspects. I don't want to mention them or name them at this point, but obviously assessing the market got us to the point that we could develop some companion diagnostics. But still, there are certain hurdles, because, I was just talking to Dr. Venkatesh, who is going to provide a talk tomorrow, that, again, from an academic perspective, because I couldn't completely assess the market, there is a lot
Yeah.
more lag in getting into the market, which is obviously the quite important one. With that, my question is, what are the
Can I add something there? So it's not only the entrepreneurs that miss out the market or miss out on the marketing or the defined market. So I've seen even big pharma companies, like, for example, like they think that they are the blockbuster drug. And over time, they kind of lose what the market needs are, and they have lost the blockbuster drug status over time, because they could not retain it. They thought they have made the success and this is what the end users want. And again, it's the end users that change or define the market. So it's not really with entrepreneurs. I've seen it time and again with also big pharma and biotech.
Right. I mean, this always happens in the medical field, especially in the drug discovery, right? That not all drugs are going to be blockbuster. You would always think that it's going to be blockbuster, and majority of the time it fails. That's just kind of the fate of the field itself. And obviously, what is a blockbuster? To my understanding, I mean, you could just correct me if I'm wrong, that few years back, the market they wanted to assess the market where at least 20 to 30% of the patient would potentially benefit from that drug. Currently, the market has completely changed, that even a 0.1% or 1% patient, even n equal to 1 trial, that's what they call, even a single patient could ask for a particular drug, right? So that has completely changed the perspective of the personalized medicine. I would say that is what is the disruptive thing that happened, that changed how you assess market. Obviously, I'm not the right person to talk about more about the market. Probably you would be the one.
No, you're right. The precision medicine and the rare diseases have redefined, or they have come up with a really disruptive innovation in even the clinical trial setup. But let's not get there. Like, probably we could jump on to the next topic. And I'd like to touch on some of the resources that an entrepreneur would like to have, or entrepreneurs should think about in the early stages as an entrepreneur, what they would need and where they should tap into. One of the main things that they need to focus, they need to have a solid team. Like, it's not always a one person. Like, entrepreneurship is not about one person. It's not like a heroic thing that you would do in cinema, like you would be the business leader. No, you need a solid team. You really need a solid team to come up with a successful product, or to envision an innovation that can get into commercialization. So I would say, like, team is more critical. And can you add some of your experience on the team members? That would be, because as an entrepreneur, like an early stage entrepreneur, you would have faced some hurdles in picking up the right team, or in picking up the solid team. Let's put it that way, in picking up a solid team.
Sure. I mean, I completely agree. I'm looking for that team. That's how I put it, because without that dream team, it's very, very difficult. So the one thing I see is that, as I mentioned, I'm purely an academician with little or almost no knowledge in marketing and other areas, and I just want to pretend there. That's the worst thing you wanted to do. And from that perspective, you need to find out, for example, a person who could understand more about business development. That's the thing. And they should come in first and say that whether this is a good idea. Any idea is good, but if it's not going to the market, as we mentioned, it's not a good idea. And they should be able to point out. And I remember that you have been always saying that it can be a war zone when two people or team of people discussing, and it is okay to have that war zone, because that war zone is going to probably take us to the next level. And that way, the team comprising of different aspects from finance to many other aspects need to be built in before thinking about startup. That's what my lesson that I've learned. I'm still learning.
Yeah, you need like when you're developing, or when you're focused on entrepreneurship, it should not be a person who says yes to all your ideas. You need a devil's advocate who could raise questions and who could pose questions, so the product is going to be better. Unless and until if there's a devil's advocate playing a team, like a team member who's playing a devil's advocate, your product is not going to be iterative and could not redefine its own previous versions. So the second important resource I always thought for business planning or business strategy is a solid business plan. Like, we touched on the market, we touched on the team members, business plan. Like, as you have an idea, like when you're developing your idea, you need to come up with a business plan. because you need money to raise for your startup. So I would say business plan is a solid thing where it's sometimes it could be a business deck, a 10 slide deck, and all you would do is like you will really have only 10 to 15 minutes to pitch to an investor. It could be a private equity firm, it could be a VC partner, or it could be a potential pharma or a diagnostic partner, or even it could be your own family member for that matter. So coming up with a solid business, because you might have it in your mind where you wanted to take this product and who you want to address it. But then the opponent, that person on the other side of the table should also need to know what exactly your plan is. 5 years from now, what you're going to develop, or 2 years from now, where you're going to stand and how much money you need to develop. This is very critical for any early stage entrepreneur. Sit with the business strategy person. There are people and resources available you could talk with. And the most important thing is you could write your own business plan. It doesn't need to be really complicated. All you need to know is like you need to talk about the market, who you have on team, and who you have as an advisor on the board, and who your connections are. This is more critical. Connections, networks, who you have on your advisory board determines the amount of investment that comes into the idea or innovation as a startup. So I would say, sorry, go ahead, Anuraj.
Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, so business plan is a solid thing, and it could be 2 to 3 pager as a document, or it could be a 10 slide deck, which has 10 slides that talks about all the components of a business plan.
Okay, and that's good. It's easy to say then be done. So I'm just going to share as an academician how difficult it is to think business plan from outside. And obviously, I completely agree with you that the business plan is not only needed for investment, it also needed as a roadmap for ourselves to see that where we could get stuck, which obviously is one thing that completely lacking from a side to really take that forward. However, as I mentioned, if that real team has already been set up, then making that business plan should not be much of a problem. But when you don't have that team, it's very, very difficult for, somebody from a non-business developing background to develop such things. Like you said, like 3 pages or 4 pages. And in a way, when we prepare such things from an academician perspective and send it to the business developers, always, it was not good. And at least 100 iterations it can go through to before that it is good, but obviously there's a lot more hurdle for an academician to really say that in a way that can become a real idea that can go and become a startup. With that, I just question from my side to you related to the business plan is that there are templates and other things, but do you think that those templates would completely help to reach what that business plan would look like? Or are there any other way that academicians or anybody else with less background in this could learn how to make those business plans?
Okay. A business plan is a live document. It never ends until you take the product into the market. And even after that, the business plan is going to be live. So yes, the initial templates, for example, there are several templates. Each business school comes up with different templates. Again, each market has a defined, time and again, they all will point to one direction. You need to know your market. You need to know your resources and capabilities. And you need to know your competitors. The most important part, you need to know your competitors, who your competitors are, and what kind of competitive advantage you have over the competitors. So a template is a good starting point, I would say, and there are several templates available on the online, like on the web. You could pick up one of them and you could start using it. But again, you would see as you start working towards your entrepreneurship career, this document takes really different shapes. It could be a 3-pager one day, and it could be a 5-pager the next day. And the same day, it would be like you'd start adding in a different component to it. It's an iterative process. There is no defined business plan. Business plan is a live document.
So even when the product is out, still the business plan plays a role that you have to.
Exactly. So the business plan also has a marketing plan, right? Like how we are going to take it to the market. What is kind of your marketing strategy? So there are several components of the business plan. In the initial stages, it's going to be your idea and how the product your envision of like how the product is going to be, or a tool or whatever you're developing, even if it could be an AI, like what the program is going to offer the end users. Like right now, there are like, at least in US, I know like around 240 companies are operating in the AI space in drug development. They have been helping drug development companies. And most of the big pharma, for example, Novartis has a big AI focused area. So it could be a small it doesn't always need to be a research component. It could be a small program that you have developed, which you think could alter the market or help the end user right now move from point A to point B.
Okay. So given the business plan, suppose if we assume that somebody got a good business plan, when and what time during their startup process should approach for investment money? Is there any particular specification towards it? And are there different levels of investors that they can look for?
Yes, definitely. There are I would say the first investor would be your friend and family. They always say there's 3 F's: friend, family, and fools. How good you are in selling in your idea to a fool. So the early investment comes, most of the early stage technologies, like most of the early investment comes in from your friend and family. So the second level, I would say, like there are angel investors who could help you out. These days, you can also tap into not-for-profit organizations who are helping if you're working on a specific disease area or a specific tool. For example, if you're working on a dengue vaccine, or just as an example, I'm saying some tool to identify dengue or a TB, or it could be even corona, like COVID situation, you could reach out to several not-for-profit organizations. And more often, the first money you always try to tap in is non-dilutive funding. Non-dilutive funding is in like government resources. For example, government, like Indian government, as you alluded to earlier, or Dr. Veera mentioned earlier, there are several programs that is developed by the state and under the national level that you could tap into those kind of dilutive fundings, non-dilutive fundings. And once you have set the stage, remember one thing, like the time you get with your investor, it's going to be one time. Like if you lose your audience, you're not going to get a second chance there. It's always one chance. So try to make use of it. And once you're when you're really confident, then you go ahead and pitch to a VC or a private equity firm, or even a pharma or a biotech partner who could be a corporate partner for you. So I would say there's no right time. It depends on which stage your idea is, and always pressure test your ideas with colleagues. I time and again, I would say, be careful who you're pressure testing your idea with, or who your KOL is. You don't want to be scooped up. You don't want your idea to be scooped up in the process. So try to have coming from a tech transfer office, I should say, try to always have a CDA covering your idea. That's the most important thing. I would say I've heard wonderful ideas which could have gone into the market, but the idea was scooped by someone else who could take it really easily to the market. And then the entrepreneur is left with nothing. So make sure your idea is confidential. If there is a situation which calls for patent or IP, like one of our speakers is going to touch on that tomorrow as a career, but it would be also nice to say, if you have an idea that requires a patenting, patent it first or trademark it first. That's going to protect your idea. So
one more point, you talked about the partnership. What does that mean? Early on, can anybody partner with larger companies? Can you just elaborate a bit on it?
Most of the companies, for example, innovation happens in a smaller to medium enterprise. For some reason, the rigid processes that are in the big companies again, innovation happens there, but most of the disruptive innovations comes from a small startup because of the freedom that they have to operate or pressure test an innovative idea. It really, the success is higher on the small to medium enterprises. So most of the big pharmas or big companies, even for Wipro or TCS, they all have a life science arm. They're doing consulting services for big pharma companies. So you have to look in where you're fitting, and you could develop partnership with these companies. For example, they could be, they're called as strategic partnerships. The company can provide you some resources. It could be financial resources or advisory resources. And sometimes they can also take over your company and you'll be an employee at the end. So the strategic partnership really depends on what kind of deal you're negotiating with it. And when I'm coming I don't want to get into the depth of the deal negotiation right now, but I would say like for an early stage entrepreneur, it would be good to pitch your ideas to big pharma companies or big IT companies, like especially in the genetic engineer. If you have an idea, if you have a program that you think could make the product better right now, whatever is in the market, then try to pitch it in and see. It probably, you might end up as an employee. It's possible with big pharma, or you could develop it outside. You could receive a small amount of funding and you could develop that idea and pressure test it in a different environment in a small startup. So strategic partnerships are of various kinds.
I think being employee that way is a different scenario from being employee, from the beginning. So,
yeah.
Because that probably gives you a good sense of, completion that as an entrepreneur, I guess.
Yeah, I like to ask one question to Anu. Anu, you said that you're protecting your idea. So
yeah.
probably apart from patenting or IPR rights, what are the other sources to protect our new idea, so that when we are going to talk to a company or a industry, we are not robbed?
That is true. Like not everyone has the, in the initial stages, like most of the entrepreneurs doesn't have the money to protect their idea. So I would suggest like having a CDA. CDA is in the sense like confidentiality disclosure agreement. So the company has to be bound ethically. For example, you could develop a CDA for 2 years or 5 years. So the company cannot take your idea and develop on their own. So you really have to draw an agreement between your your strategic partner and yourself, a broader sense. Never have a tunnel vision and say, restrict my product is going to be working only in this area. Let's say if one of your undergrads or master students is coming up with a gene and they've identified it plays a role in, let's say, like a sickle cell disease or something. Don't try to limit yourself or restrict yourself to sickle cell disease alone. Try to see where the gene plays in other areas. It could be some other cancer types. So try to have a huge, broader field in your confidentiality disclosure agreement. They are also called as NDAs. People call it differently. So try to have, before having a conversation with any one of your potential partners, try to have that CDA or NDA signed. Never open, like you can always disclose, like you don't have to say the target, you don't have to say what you're working on, what the tool is going to be. The confidential information you also always have closer to your heart. Never disclose it. So IP is one thing, like patent is one thing. In some cases, you cannot do a patent, like for example, algorithms or something. There you would go for a trademark. So like you really need to reach out to an IP patent agent or a lawyer. For example, tomorrow Giri is going to talk about it. That's what a patent agent would do or a patent lawyer would do. There are two different players. Patent agent is someone who drafts your patent, and the patent lawyer is who's going to prosecute it for you on the IP level. So they really make sure if you're paying for someone, make sure that the patent lawyer does their job properly. Like they try to cover all the areas and markets that could be of potential value in the future. Always try to have a larger vision.
Great. This is really good, but most of the time, those who are intending or motivated to start the entrepreneurship, we always meet with a lot of different challenges.
Yeah.
Can you just, briefly describe what type of challenges usually people go through?
The more often, like main challenges is where to start. Like most of the entrepreneurs, they might have a good idea. What I find is where to start, like especially in India, where especially in biotech and pharma. I cannot talk for retail industry because India is exploding with innovation in the retail industry. So I cannot talk for retail industry or IT. But in this case of biotech and pharma, we have a long way to go. Our road is really long. Like there are several challenges for the early stage entrepreneurship. If you look at the hubs in India, biotech hubs in India, there are only 2 or 3 of them, micro hubs. It's either Bangalore or Hyderabad. City like Chennai, which has a lot of potential for biotech, like we are generating a higher number of biotech students and bioengineering students. But then if you look in, there's a long way that we have to go. If you're thinking about an entrepreneurial idea, you don't know where to reach out or what is the tool required for this purpose. There are some universities are coming up with accelerators or incubators where you could rent a space for really small, as an alumni, you could rent a space and you could develop that idea in the incubator space. All you need is like a bench to develop it. Or you could do even at your garage. You don't even have to need that space. If you're working on an AI platform or something, all you need is your garage or a bedroom, right? Like to work on it.
I think
So
in 90s, sorry to interrupt, but 90s, I think that is how most of the IT companies really started. I think with AI in biology, this could be another era where things could happen as well.
Biology is getting there. Biology in several ways is getting there. Like most of the ideas are like coming out from discussions with your friends and colleagues. It is the most innovative ideas comes always through a discussion. So that's the most important. You have to find a fellow mind or a fellow team member who could judge that idea with you or test that idea with you. And resources, as I said, like the most important, like most of the people who thought about entrepreneurship, they don't know where to start. So first thing is try to look for accelerators or incubators within your zone. Okay, like you don't need to have to go into Bangalore. You don't have to go into Hyderabad to do this. You could come up with your own micro hub. All you need is like, you can talk to a company, IT company, which is in Madras, and see if they could rent a space for you. Because most of the IT company is getting into health IT right now. It could be a diagnostic tool. It could be big data mining. It could be anything, right? So all you need is like, you just go ahead and talk with them, and all they're going to do is like isolate a space for you. And most of the IT companies are open to that idea because they are new to the space, into the health sciences or life sciences. So they wanted to understand too what's going on in the market. So you can develop your own micro hub, and also like reach out to your state government or to the central government to see if you could get any kind of funding in the initial periods. There are entrepreneurship forums available in India right now. Like I've seen a couple of TEDx talks that's coming up in different cities where you could go and talk about the idea, or people talk about entrepreneurship. Like I agree with you on certain points. Like it's not like retail industry where you develop a platform. You really like, unfortunately, life science or health sciences or pharma or biotech is dollar intensive or like money, capital intensive. The money you need to raise is going to be higher. So a lot of them are risk averse at that point. Talking about resources, one other thing I would say is network. Your network is going to play, like as Dr. Veera mentioned, in any, like even if you're being an employer or an employee, a network is going to be a major positive thing for you for advancing your technology. Reach out to international people to get your idea solidified. People are open. Like right now, people are in the mood of giving back to the society, including myself right now. Like you or me, we wanted to give back right now because we know our, like thanks to pandemic, we know our lives are shortened. Like it could be anytime us, and we all wanted to give back. In a similar way, like a lot of country, in a lot of nation, people are opening up. Like you could touch base with any one of them on LinkedIn, get a half-an-hour time with them, get their ideas on it, or get their 2 cents on it, whether it's a good idea to move forward. Never hesitate. Or the most important thing in entrepreneurship is reaching out and networking. That's again like a 24/7 job.
Sure.
The resources are not unlimited. Try, like there are like Coursera, like courses where you could learn about the business planning or marketing strategies or understanding the market. There are like several business schools are offering online podcasts you can listen to about entrepreneurship. Even Harvard is offering Harvard or Stanford or MIT or anyone. You could join their Zoom sessions right now. They're opening up. Look out for those webinars or something. You could join in and you could benefit greatly right now.
I mean, a few points to add to that. Obviously, you rightly said that with the machine learning, IT, even with other aspects, even the COVID has shown that small scale diagnostics are really helping in COVID, right? So, I mean, simple as you said, like in a small places these days enough to perform such kind of or do such kind of startups. And I mean, unfortunately, I cannot name the company, but it's just kind of very interesting that people in their early 20s are just starting AI companies that can do the machine learning for drug discovery.
Sorry. Okay.
Sorry for the interruption. What I just wanted to add is that there's like there are companies which are like in a very on even people in their 20s, they are doing these machine learning approaches for drug discovery that's being very useful in the case of big pharmas, and they were all probably started in their own garage. That's right. One thing I want to add, and another thing is because recently we are very interested at the ICR and other places as well, the global oncology. Through this, I learned that obviously Indian government is providing a lot of opportunities for young entrepreneurs or even any entrepreneurs to just join together, register in the Indian government forums, as Anu mentioned, so that you can get more information. With that, few things I'm just thinking from my own experience, still trying to be an entrepreneur, is that I think sometimes we ourselves are hurdled for becoming an entrepreneur, because sometimes we have our own ideas. We just think, oh, this is a good idea, this is not a good idea. We take a longer time. We never express. We never try to build the team. That itself is one of the ways we just blocking ourselves from going forward. The second thing. Right. The second thing which I noticed, especially being an Indian, and probably this is most of us probably faces that from the family perspective, not in a bad way. Their family always, I mean, they wanted to make sure that, employment is probably the best way to get settled, right? And I don't know, the things probably changing a lot. I'm just probably talking from our time when, for example, my mom thought like, I should not be doing PhD, because otherwise I would probably roaming around, with full of beard and other fashion, things like that, right? That's probably the perspective.
No, I agree with you. My mom thought like PhDs for 2 years. I actually told her PhD is only 2 years. It's going to take 2 years and I'll come back and get married, which never happened, right? So that's different ways. It's different times. Like when we came out, or when we were thinking about PhD after our master's, that was what, like, our idea to come out was like, that's the only way we thought like research could be done. But now there are several options. Research could be like, we are the crossroads, like, as the title alludes to, we are the crossroads. Like the business of science is much more lucrative and I would say much more beneficial. And our parents' generation, like it has changed. Like the current youngsters, like who are in their undergrad or grad student, like who are doing their masters, they have a much more defined idea about what future can be, what other options can be. You don't have to come out and do a dollar intensive or like a resource intensive startup. All you need is an idea to develop it. We have seen it time and again.
It doesn't matter where, because again, hopefully my mom is not going to see this, but she always said that I should be doing my PhD in the US rather than in India for the reason. So there are certain sentiments there, but we have to convince them, move on with that hurdle. Also, we need to find the niche area. I mean, there is another problem when I say within ourselves is that too many ideas not good, right?
Yes.
You need to just narrow down to that best idea. And you need to find out that if that best idea is going to help. There are a couple of things to it. For example, I think Dr. Raja, Anu, we were all talking, and whoever did the MSc license, we know that there is this workshop for glass blowing. For example, actually, that's a very interesting. I didn't even know, and food processing, right?
Yeah.
Food processing,
right? But I think it's good to learn. But I don't think I would become a veteran in glass blowing and wanted to start a startup in glass blowing, right? So
a veteran in food science.
That you need to find your niche where your strengths are, where you would be competent enough, and competition is very, very, very important. And that is how you just go through with these startup shyness or whatever you would say.
Yeah, I agree. Like for an entrepreneur, they need to come out of their comfort zone. They really need to come out of their comfort zone to reach out to people and test their ideas. And more importantly, as you alluded to, it's like nowadays, like as Coursera, or it could be your own university, they could come up with elective courses. Feel free to openly discuss about your ideas. Don't feel ashamed, because the moment you're thinking, oh, it's a small, like it's a really crazy idea. You don't know what the end user, like the market really wants from you, right? So try to get some elective courses. If you think that a business strategy is going to help you, you don't have to do an MBA for this. All you need is the basics of business strategy. Remember, the first thing is break down the problem and find the solution. The solution could be really, really, really simple. It doesn't need to be a complicated idea. And especially in our country, like in India or in any of the developing nations, the solution should be really simple, because most of the end users are going to be like people who are using it in villages and in small towns. So you really have to come up with a interesting and a smart solution. And yeah, like you could take up elective courses in one of, like, probably, I don't know whether there are programs in India. Like most of the universities are starting, at least outside of India, I know that most of the universities are starting programs, combined degrees, like an BE with like an undergrad with a business degree, or a medical degree with a business degree. Most of the VC partners I've seen have all got this like combined degrees, an MD PhD or an MD MBA or a PhD MBA, those kind of things, right? So there are options that you could do when you go out. Like you don't have to restrict yourself to a PhD or a master's. You could do an elective course and you could define your own path. That's something special about entrepreneurship. There's no limit. You could test your idea.
Sure. Given the dialectic course, I don't know if everybody wants to be entrepreneur. Some people would prefer an alternative career. Can you just guide them regarding alternative career from life sciences? That would probably be, helpful for them.
So like, I don't want to go into the same space like what Dr. Veera mentioned earlier. I would say like there are different areas that you could touch on even after your undergrad degree, which could be very interesting. This is the business of science again. So you could become an investment analyst. You don't need a management degree for that. You could start as an analyst, investment analyst in any of the investment firms and help people with market shares or investments, or any banks. Most of the big banks have need investment analysts in the biotech area. They need to understand the market, biotech market. So an undergrad person can go into an investment analyst position. And there are management consulting firms like McKinsey or Bain or couple of them like Dell and Accenture. They all have strategy. I'm not talking about the IT consulting. I'm talking about the strategy consulting. So they hire generally, like you need to prepare a year in advance for these kind of roles. All these management strategy firms, they all have resources available, huge resources, how to prepare for these kind of careers. So you could go, just as an example, McKinsey has a whole portfolio of job descriptions that you might take after an undergrad degree. And India has still is opening up to these kind of strategy firms. So you could look into their resources. Like these resources are not limited to anyone. You don't have to pay for it. And look in and develop your own skill set for this kind of strategy consulting. So you could look into those. And definitely there are areas where you could really, after your undergrad or master's, you could move into the business of science. Like, for example, medical writing. Medical writing is upcoming. Most of the medical, at least in India, it's like well developed. Medical writing is something that people, like I have friends who are working in medical writing. They help prepare the marketing document for any kind of drug product or cell or gene therapy products, and also help them with publishing and other areas. So medical writing is a big thing right now. Then you could also, like the business of science, I would say, like I'm not talking about sales here, clearly not selling a drug. Business development. Business development is selling an idea, raising money and selling an idea. So you could work for a startup, help them prepare like what I've mentioned, like you don't have to be an entrepreneur, but you have to have an entrepreneurial mindset to help them with a business development plan. So what you would do is like you will start working with C-suite people like a CSO or a CEO and help them prepare their business development plan, do market analysis. Those kind of job comes under the business development strategy. So you could look for business development positions. Again, this is not selling a product, it's selling an idea. It's completely different.
That's great. That's great. I mean, just now I saw Dr. Veera has sent some comments. So do you want to add on that and share your experience, Dr. Veera?
So what was the question? Actually, I have different remarks. First of all, thank you very much for this wonderful discussion. In fact, I myself, for the past 2 years, having some ideas and going and meeting so many venture capitalists and potential customers, because like you guys mentioned, first you have to identify who are your customers. So I know my customers are VPs and big CEOs, CCOs of different companies. So what I'm doing is going and talking to them and telling, hey, this is what we are preparing and my team can do. And how do you feel about this? So they are giving some awesome that they really want. Then I have a feeling, okay, now I have a good potential customer and a good opportunity. That builds me some confidence. Then the second part is about VC funding. So who is going to fund? Because I have a good salary and good life. But if I all of a sudden, if I have to resign everything and start a company, it will be difficult for me. So it won't make sense to leave the family and do that. So VC funding is an important factor, and where your business plan, organized business plan and marketing pitch deck and everything comes into picture. And in fact, you talked about you should have a devil's advocate on your side. We have people. Okay. So I myself a devil's advocate for my team and being more critical in, hey, we should know our limitations. We know how we are differentiating from our competitors. That makes real sense. And the second part, keeping secrecy. So you have to sign the NDAs. Whenever we go and speak and we try to sign, hey, you should not be disclosing and please sign it, then only I will engage you in the discussion, in fact. So that procedures we used to follow. And since we are on the technical side, we also try to go with pattern. But when you are working for a big company, it's a different process. If you are a separate person, independent person, you can go and file the patent by yourself. No one is going to stop. But when you're working for a big companies, like in my case, I have to get an approval from the council. Hey, I have this idea. Or do you want to support me to go with a patent? Then they have to vote and they should support. We have a couple of patents like that. So those are the main things. And in fact, big companies, for example, Dell Technologies is funding 100 other companies who came up with best ideas. So we have our own capital to support other entrepreneurs who are coming on the way. So this is a wonderful discussion. And I also noted what is next in AI. So I can give you two examples. What is next in AI? That was the question asked in the chat. So one is,
I don't see the chat. Sorry.
There's a private one.
Yeah, think about now people are writing programs to develop software, but what these days happening is people are writing programs to write programs. So even if those kind of things come in, you don't have to even know codings. Your program there will be a drag and drop and GUI like mechanisms that makes that happen very quickly. And the second thing is now people are moving ahead of machine learning. So we developed a lot and we have matured a lot in machine learning, and we are going towards deep learning aspects where this neural network architecture is getting implemented so that the accuracy, everything, because we want driverless car. So you know how risky it is. It should be to the level of human intelligence to stop, you put the brake.
Better than human intelligence, right?
Yeah, better than human intelligence. It's a 360-degree view. Yeah, so we have we have our blind spots and so many other things, and this cars, even they can see 360-degree around what's happening. So we are going towards, and this is happening across the industry, not only in one industry and across the industry. So
that's nice discussion. But I just all this talk that you have going on is regarding the properly trained or what you can say, a person who is well versed with what is happening in business. So tell us, for a BTech student, for example. Okay, right. He is a BTech student and he is coming up with the idea. So
if you let me, I will share one more topic on that. I'm more excited. 10, 20 years before, when I was doing masters with you guys, we went to a field trip to Mysore. We visited two places. One is CFTRI and another one DRDO, where they were doing some plastic bags for military jawans to pack the food. And another place we visited is about spirulina cultivation. In those places, we were being asked by those people, hey, we have some product. If you have some any idea of starting companies, we can even sell our ideas so that you can go and market it. So those opportunities even existed 20 years before. At that time, I was ignorant. I don't have this much intelligence to
That's what I was
capitalize.
about to
Someone
ask.
is
What did you
offering
tell
the
us?
idea. Just imagine
Yeah.
who is there.
That's
So
what
I
my
just want to
question.
share.
Yeah, that's what I am
So,
asking, right? For a, he is a student, right? How to
Yeah.
begin? How to begin? That's the question, right? Because that will be more relevant to the audience, because they don't know anything about markets, they don't know anything venture capitals or angel funds, nothing they don't know.
Yeah.
You just tell us where to start. So of
Where
course
to
we
start.
do have in our university accelerator kind of thing
Mhm.
where the students are provided even with some kind of money to start our
Yeah.
business with. But probably you can tell us how to begin.
I know Anu will have a lot more insights about that, but I just wanted to add, I don't know how much in India that's going to develop, but I don't want to again mention the name of the companies, but recently certain venture capitalists, they're coming forward to say that, any student or especially students up to their PhD level, they don't have to have any business plan or anything. A simple idea, or even not
Mhm.
having an idea, but just where to develop that, they could join those venture capitalists, and they would get paid to become a founder of a company. So those kind of ideas are coming. Again, I'm not sure how much that's being developed in India. I'm sure that's going to get developed as well. I think that would be a good place to me,
begin with.
according to me, to
Begin
start
with.
with it.
Yeah, I agree. Like universities, like again, I cannot talk about the policies each university have or a college has in India. So what I can say is like when you have certain idea, all you can do is like reach out, like reading helps you a lot about the startups. First thing, that's where you start. How the other startups in that space came up with. For example, if you are in the AI space, look for other startups, AI startups. And generally there is something about that company, newsletters, how they started and where they started. The founders would have given an interview to say, like, I've reached out to these firms or these VCs or angel investors, or even sometimes like they say, like, we started the company with the money from our parents. Like, that gives you an idea. And the second thing I would say is like, you don't, as I mentioned, like you don't need a course, it's basic understanding. Business is ingrained in all of us. We are all born to sell something. So it's like, you just need to pick your senses and run with it. If you feel right about the product or technology, don't feel ashamed. As I mentioned, like don't feel ashamed or shy about that idea, that it's a crazy idea. No idea is crazy or small. It's always how you develop it and how you build upon it. So that's the most important criteria. And third thing is like you talk with your, sorry?
Sorry, I said you will only regret if you're not.
You will only regret when you see a product in the market. You will later regret when you see a product in the market. There are resources, like for example, like on LinkedIn is perfect example. A lot of these VC firms, or even Indian VC firms or angel investors or companies, they share resources all the time about how they are boosting entrepreneurship. Tap into them, and generally they provide enough resources for your local network. Like for example, like if you are coming up with a diagnostic tool, all you need to do is reach out to a forum or a club which develops diagnostic tools in Madras or diagnostic centers in Madras. Get yourself registered for that, go and attend those meetings, then you understand more about what kind of business others are doing. You don't have to follow them. You could be the game changer. All you need to be is in the same network of a similar startups or similar established companies. That will provide you more idea. And be aware of your competitors. This is again, time and again, I will mention, be aware of your competitors. Don't disclose your ideas. Time and again, I'm going to mention this.
One more thing is like,
sorry, I thought, shall we give opportunity to the students to ask, because we have just 10 minutes.
Yeah, actually, some of the questions were posted from the YouTube comments. So one more thing that this is my question. Like, suppose we have one question. Sorry, one product I have developed. It's my own idea. So how good? Like, there's only one idea that I'm going to sell that is going to be there in the market for some years. So based on that, how you can start a company, because companies require different products over a period of time, and that can you explain?
So you're right. Like most of them are looking for platform approaches. When I say platform, it's like one target that applies for many disease areas, or it could become a many product. That's what most of the investor firms are looking for. But again, like, your first idea is never going to be the product. It's never going to be the full product at the end of the day. As you start your company, you would recognize, like, I know one of the startups, like, which started in the computer science background. They ended up becoming one of the big companies for bispecific antibodies. Like 10 years later, the company changed completely the strategic vision. It was a computer science company, and it moved on from computer science to develop bispecific antibodies, or develop structures for bispecific antibodies. So again, like, you can say today it could be one idea, but when you add the team and when you develop on it, build upon it, it's going to be multiple product line. And most of the startups, they don't offer, like, it's only the big established firms have multiple products. Most of the startups are like single technology, a single use IP, or a single product that they work on.
But how they sustain this, if there are no further more innovation?
That's why you need to develop your product, right? It's not going to be product at the, it's like this, like, look at Apple, for example, or any other, just as an example. Apple started with iPhone 1 version, and now we are what, 11 and 12, like 12 iterations. If it would have been stayed with Apple iPhone 1, then the product would have never been in the market. They would have been removed. Look at HP and others, how they've lost the market over time. And there are several examples. People, if they don't keep developing the product, or they don't keep updating the product, value add is more important, and they lose the market. Big firms, like, you've seen companies like like the companies I talk, like, for example, camera companies that have been in even in 2000, Pentax or someone, they're no more in the market. Because now we have like cameras on our phones. We don't even have to think about taking a DSLR or a normal camera with us anymore. So you really need to think advance of what the market, or how the market is moving, and keep adding the value to your product or your idea and innovation.
So one other point to add is, having a revenue model on the side. So, with respect to countries like India, obviously, innovation is a lot more needed, but obviously for the sustainability and thriving of the company, having a revenue model on the side, having a contract research organization that eventually could develop into a novel, idea developing company would probably a viable solution. Because how much of the funding and other things available in India is obviously it's just booming, it's just coming up. Those kind of opportunities could help. It could incubate your idea for some time, obviously, by developing the team and other things we discussed. And then
don't incubate your idea too long. That's the main point.
Not too long, but until that opportunity comes through, would probably work. So unfortunately, there are only 4 or 5 minutes left.
Probably I'll ask the participants one more time, because a few questions they have posted, I asked the speakers. So if you have any more questions, you can post it, so that, or you can directly ask them. You can.
I think this is an opportunity how to come and express your ideas, right?
Yes.
Learn from here.
Come out of your comfort zone.
Yes. Many of you from different parts of the country.
I can tell you something. I never asked questions when I was in my undergrad, like my master's program. People know me as a person who was like shy. I don't know, they may not agree with me, but never ask questions in the classroom. But now my job is to ask questions. Most of my position, like I've had in the past, like I always raise questions, and I always question the innovators. That's kind of helped me define.
Would share the same thing coming from,
But Dr. Veeramuthu is different, actually.
No. Even I was a shy person, couldn't ask questions, but some of my mentors really pushed me a little hard. And in fact, you know how the corporate environment will look like. So you won't have opportunity to speak because people will dominate you and you'll be shut all the time. So you have to be really aggressive to express yourself and bring your ideas to the table. So please open.
Any such aggressive person who want to ask the question, burning questions?
Okay, just give me a second.
So you can be too smart, and if you ask critical questions, you will be valued by your team. So they will really look for you, and And one more thing I would like to emphasize is think about local entrepreneurship in local. For example, try to solve a local problem and get your market share out of that. Yeah.
Because we actually, like, you will have, like, whatever you're doing in India right now, you'll have the first movers advantage, and you will be able to capture the huge market. Believe me, it's not about the cost of the end product, it's how big the market is. So remember that in your mind, who you are and where you are and how you could how you could benefit from that market. You don't have to develop a technology for something outside, which is not within the Indian dream. So you think big for where you are. And one of the main things that you mentioned, Dr. Veera, is like the mentors. That's more critical. Having a mentor, because mentors are going to shape you up throughout your process. So having a mentor, identifying a mentor, it's good to have at least a couple of mentors in your career. Like, be it being an employee or an employee, it doesn't matter. Mentorship is always important. Like, you need to reach out to people people are happy to mentor. Like, when they see there is a potential in a person like you, like, definitely they're going to open up and help you shape up the future. So reach out to people, and people might be happy to be your mentor.
I would like to probably end this. Obviously, Dr. Raja would, if he agrees. Can you just, Anu, tell probably very briefly, being a woman, how the entrepreneurship
that would be a nice one, because
definitely. I'll have to say, like, I've been in a very different situation. Probably, like, this is, again, the opinion I'm sharing is my own opinion and my own experiences. My family and friends have been really helpful. I've made, like, wherever I am today, they have been there all the time throughout. Like, and they've been challenged me. Like, most of my friends, they're never considered like it's a boy or a girl. There's no gender disparity I've seen. And most of the mentors I've worked with, it's the same. Like, most of my mentors are male mentors. And I never felt that. Like, it's actually, so again, this is my personal opinion. It's in you as a female. If you feel like you cannot be able to do it, come out of that comfort zone, come out of that consciousness, and you could explore a lot more avenues, and you just have to feel it in yourself. There is nothing that's stopping, or there's no gender disparity. Actually, right now, most of the big pharma companies are coming up that the board needs to have female board members. Like, they need to have a certain position, like certain number of female board members in every single company. So I would suggest, like, they are seeing women are, of course, risk averse. That is true. As an entrepreneur, you don't want to take that risk. You don't want to come out of the comfort zone. Like, men generally are known to be risk. They are happy to take risk and try out the idea without any like a clear plan. Like, women always want every corner of points to be covered before they take one step. Like, don't be shy, come out. And I've seen, like, a lot of women entrepreneurs that have been successful, and some of the women VCs I've seen are amazing. The way they provide feedback, the way they do things are completely different. There's nothing stopping you as an entrepreneur. And if you look into other sectors, like, for example, be the retail industry or IT, you see a lot more women coming into things. We expect the same amount of entrepreneurs, biotech entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs to come out. There are forums which are boosting women entrepreneurship. You could reach out to them, and you could share your pain points, or you could share your ideas and others and pressure test with them. So don't feel shy, come out. That's all I would say. Like, that would be my suggestion. Again, this is all personally from me.
Okay, since Angraj has another meeting to attend, and there are, I don't see any more questions from the audience. I'd like to thank the participants and the speakers for this wonderful event. Probably can provide the feedback, and tomorrow we have another 3 talks. That is going to be one for the how to shape your career. The second one is going to be the managemental aspects of science. And the third one is going to be on the IPR. I hope this session actually was very helpful to all the participants. Thank you for
Thank you for providing us the opportunity.
Wonderful event.
Same here.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. So So with that, I would like to conclude this event, and I expect you to meet at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you very much.